You wake up, hit snooze 3 times, check your phone, put useless thoughts in your brain, make coffee, sit in traffic, 8 hours of work you dislike, sit in traffic, again, complain, drown out the noise with cheap entertainment, go to bed, repeat. Sounds horrifying if you ask me, but most people are willing to make this trade for stability, gladly trading 5 days of their life for 2 in return. Now, if I asked you to get into an investment opportunity with me, and I said, all you have to do is put $100,000 in today, and next year you'll get $30,000 in return, a negative 70% ROI. How's that sound? Hopefully, you'd laugh in my face and walk away, maybe hit me, which would be warranted. Yet most people are willing to make this kind of trade with their time, which is a far more valuable and finite resource than money. Consciously select your work, or let it be assigned to you. We all have to work. There's no getting around it. And I suppose this isn't news to you, right? You need money for survival. Food, rent, utilities, health, emergencies. So if you'll need to work for a large portion of your time anyways, and the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your thoughts and the expenditure of your time and energy, why not consciously select work that you love, rather than allow others to assign it to you? The kind of work that seems to warp time itself whenever you engage with any of its necessary tasks. The kind of work that makes you eager to jump out of bed in the morning and go out and tackle the projects that kind of spark this fire inside of you. I'm sure you've felt it at some moment in your life. That's what you need to pursue. And paradoxically, this kind of work that I'm describing, the kind of work that you would do even if money wasn't an object of your concern, this is how you make the most money as well. Why? Because the amount of money you make is directly proportional to the quality of service that you provide, to the value that you provide for the market. And the quality of service that you're able to provide, the amount of value you're able to provide for the market, is directly proportional to the passion that you feel for the work itself. That's the secret. Do what you love, earn more, work less. This is entirely possible. I know because I've done it, and so have millions of others since the inception of time, really. The people who love what they do, who feel a fire inside their belly whenever they take on the tasks related to their work, those are the people that win. So in this video, I want to share with you a novel perspective to see time differently, to really shatter the way you see time. Because when you change the way you see time, and you learn how to identify the kind of work that satisfies you, that feels fulfilling, that feels meaningful, over a long enough time horizon, you become unstoppable, and you're able to achieve this kind of effortless success effect. And I want to share with you lessons from my journey of failing in my first online business and what I've learned now that I'm on this path that I feel so motivated and passionate by. So let's get into the video. For context, I'm here in my childhood bedroom visiting my family for the holidays. So if the setup looks a little different than usual, that's why. When I started my first online business, which was a marketing and content creation agency, I had a high of motivation unlike anything I've ever experienced before, right? I had fully bought into the toxic hustle culture that is around. If you're watching this video right now and you're aware of this online culture, I could just hear Eric Thomas reverberating between my ears day in and day out.
When you want to succeed, as bad as you want to breathe, young man, then you will be successful in any area of your life.
And I had fully bought into that. So hustle, I did. I had recently moved to England for a semester abroad, so I had 6 months, no friends around, no obligations, a clear vision, and a $10,000 course which I had purchased with most of my savings because it promised me $10,000 a month in return. So I was all in and completely delusional as to what it really takes to build a sustainable business. But nonetheless, I started the work and I blasted my undifferentiated offer to all corners of the internet. I was working 10 to 12 hours every single day, 7 days a week, sending anywhere between 70 to 100 cold emails every single day. I was doing cold calls and hearing business owners tell me fuck off on the daily. I was miserable when you really think about it. But in my mind, I was in the trenches, right? I could hear David Goggins between my brain telling me to, who's gonna carry the boats? Right? Like that's where my brain was. I thought I had to grind and hustle and toil with the universe to get what I wanted. This like glorious $10,000 a month goal that I was like so stupidly chasing. So unsurprisingly, I burnt out. Couldn't do any work anymore. I would question why I was doing what I was doing every single day. I would spend hours in bed journaling, and I was miserable, and I was just alone, isolated. I was in a new country. I didn't have any friends, and I hated the work that I was doing, and I just hated myself to some degree. It was miserable, truly. So now is where you might be thinking, well, like, I thought you were going to tell me I need to hustle and grind for years on end to be successful, right? Because that's what all the other success gurus and business gurus will tell you to do. After all, the title of this video, or something similar, will be why you should want to work 7 days a week. And most people have this erroneous belief inside their head that the key to success and the key to happiness is to grind and hustle and battle with the universe for years on end in order to get what they want. The hard workers, those are the people who win. Those are the people who succeed. And there's so many mentors and business gurus and content creators and influencers and biographies, so many different stories that you hear of this being the case. So it forms this belief inside your head, but that's wrong. Like, it's really utterly complete nonsense. That's where I went wrong. That's how I burnt out and how I ended up in this miserable state. And I want you to avoid that. If I can help one person at least avoid that, then it would make me happy. Because I wish I heard something like this earlier. Turning work into play. Find a job you enjoy doing, and you'll never work a day in your life. Mark Twain. Now, before you raise your pitchforks at me and start swearing at me through your screen, I want to discuss this commonly used and very problematic aphorism, because you hear this and see this all over the place, and it can really trigger people because it can make them think, well, work and life is difficult. You have to go through some anxiety. You have to go through some stress, and work is demanding. You can't just be playing and like following your passions and make money. You need money for survival. There's all these kind of beliefs that will come up in your head when you hear that quote, which they're all true. But that's not what it means at all. In nowhere in this quote does it say that the work is not going to be demanding, that it's not going to be taxing, that it's not going to be challenging, that it's not going to be difficult. It is going to be all of those things. In high school, Kobe Bryant would come to school at 5 a.m. and practice for several hours before his school started. In the 2008 Olympics, it's said that he showed up to the gym at 4:15 a.m. in order to make 800 baskets before his team practice started at 8 a.m. Right, so his teammates would be waking up all groggy, wiping the boogers off their eyes and whatnot, and they'd be showing up to team practice at 8 a.m. and Kobe would be drenched in sweat, and he already had made 800 shots. Now, did he need to do that? Was that assigned for him to do that? No. Was that demanding on his body and mind? Was that taxing? Did his drive for mastery cause him stress and anxiety at times because he wanted to continue improving? I'm sure it did. And I'm sure it was taxing. But still, he wasn't doing that because he had to. For him, this was play. He was pursuing that feeling of mastery, that feeling of flow. Contrary to what we usually believe, moments like these, the best moments in our lives, are not passive, receptive, or relaxing times. Although such experiences can also be enjoyable if we have worked hard to attain them, the best moments usually occur when a person's body or mind is stretched to its limits in a voluntary effort to accomplish something that is difficult and worthwhile. Optimal experience is thus something that we make happen. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. And this is flow, as coined by the renowned psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. And it's a concept that I've been obsessed with recently because I think it points to infallible ancient wisdom about pursuing this feeling of mastery, of doing the work for the sake of the work itself. And as I alluded to earlier, paradoxically, when you do the work for the work itself, you'll naturally outwork others, you'll naturally show up consistently over long stretches of time, the quality of your service will be better, and thus you'll get compensated accordingly. And I'm so grateful because this experience of flow is something that I've been able to experience every single day of my life since I threw in the towel on my old business and I started creating content here on YouTube, right? Doing the things that I do now, reading, writing, wrestling with concepts, video editing, sharing my aha moments and personal breakthroughs in order to hopefully serve someone. All of these things bring me immense joy, and I love doing them. And because of that, I'm able to wake up at 4 a.m. and work for 3 to 4 hours doing any of these things without effort almost. I do these things because I love doing them. So I'm able to put in the work that is required to see growth in this field. For someone else, writing YouTube scripts, studying psychology, studying marketing, reading philosophy books, reading these like difficult texts that I try to sift through because I'm passionate about them, that might be extremely difficult and toiling. But for me, I love it. I love the work itself. So I'm pursuing mastery, I'm pursuing flow, as opposed to some externally imposed goals of internet fame or a luxury lifestyle. And I'm sure that luxury lifestyle and internet fame might come. Like, of course, I'm gonna put in hours and hours of work doing this kind of stuff for years on end. Of course, I'll grow on social media. But that's a second order consequence. I'm not doing it for that. I'm doing it because I love doing this. And I would gladly do this for 20 years without seeing the quote-unquote fruits of my labor. In his book, Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl put this beautifully, and I'll put the quote up on the screen right now. Don't aim at success. The more you aim at it and make it a target, the more you're going to miss it. For success, like happiness, cannot be pursued. It must ensue as the unintended side effect of one's personal dedication to a course greater than oneself. Now, I want to acknowledge something obvious, because writing, YouTubing, coaching, these things that I'm doing, content creation, it's obviously not for everyone. This is obviously not everyone's path. So I'm not going to tell you this is the best business model in 2024 or something like that. Right? When I've made videos in the past talking about the synthesizer business model, which is the kind of path that I'm trying to pursue myself, I share it as an opportunity for people who are like me. But I recognize that that may not be everyone. But what I do want anyone who is watching this video right now to take away is this one thing. If you're asking yourself, how do I balance work and life enjoyment, as if they're on opposite ends of a spectrum, you're asking the wrong question. They're not on opposite sides of a spectrum. What you should be asking instead, what you should be questioning instead, is the work itself. Because if the work that you're doing feels like it's on the opposite end of a spectrum between your work and life enjoyment, then you hate your work and your work fucking sucks. It's that simple. Imagine if you loved the tasks that you had to carry out for the projects that you're taking on, if you felt that kind of fire inside your belly every day that I'm sure you've felt before. Maybe when playing sports younger, or, writing a speech at school, or something that you really you took on a project that you felt passionate about. Imagine if you felt that feeling every single day. Imagine how easy it would be to get out of bed, to go out and work for endless hours. You'd be forgetting to eat meals. It'd be all you can talk about to your friends, to your family, to new people. Imagine how easy success would be if you had that kind of feeling. That's how you felt towards your work. Now, I want to go meta and philosophical for a second, but if you really understand this, I think it might be really helpful. Years, months, weeks, hours, minutes, seconds, none of these things exist. They're not real. Time is not real. At least not in this sequential sort of way that we choose to perceive it in. All of these things are just man-made distinctions and categories and labels that we've assigned in order to create order for the collective consciousness, to kind of literally create order for our world. I mean, the world would be chaotic if we didn't have calendars and clocks and times. But they're not real, not in a objective, metaphysical sort of way, right? And when you understand that, and you realize all of the excuses and things that we do because of time, you begin to understand how freaking stupid it is, right? Think about how many people you hear say, oh, it's Friday, it's the weekend, finally I deserve some rest. I deserve to go get some pizza, have a few drinks with the boys, maybe watch a movie and relax, Or it's insert holiday name, I'm gonna go get plastered drunk, watch the game with the boys, and chill. Or maybe it's, I've been miserable at work for an entire month. My boss has been up my ass. I hate what I'm doing. I feel tired. My relationships are taking a toll. But a couple weeks from now, I'm going to have a vacation. So I'm going to get to rest then, and it's all going to be better. When you understand that time is not real, and you hear the excuses and things that people do and say because of time, you realize how freaking stupid that is. If you hate your work, stop working there. It's just and I know it's not easy. I know what I'm saying is hard. You're probably having limiting beliefs right now, and all sorts of things come up. I need to pay the bills. Maybe your mother's sick and you need to pay for her medical bill and what have you. Life is hard. You're gonna, making money is important, and life is hard. So I don't want to ignore that reality, that truth. But realize that if you really found that project, that task, that skill that is the right path for you, you would spend every waking hour that you had left over pursuing that thing, and over time that would compound. There's a really interesting phenomenon that happens when you're in this flow state, and it's this feeling that time itself gets warped. And I'm sure you've experienced it before, but I'll describe it from my experience so it makes sense. When I'm in a deep work session and I'm writing, or I'm reading, researching, or even when I'm filming these videos, I could be recording into the microphone for an hour, sometimes 2 hours, and it'll feel like 20 minutes. I have no thoughts in my brain other than what is coming through my mouth right now as I try to explain this concept to you. When I'm writing, I am not thinking about anything else other than what I'm writing, the concepts that I'm trying to research, that I'm trying to put across. And that is a beautiful feeling, right? When you're rock climbing, when you're wrestling with someone, when you're skiing, when you're driving maybe even, you're connected to the activity itself. And that's a beautiful thing to be able to experience. That is happiness. That is flow. So why would you sacrifice 5 days of your week that you hate for 2 in return? That's a negative 70% ROI for your life. So to get back to the topic, by no means am I saying that you shouldn't rest and that you should work every single waking hour of your day. Of course not. Rest, time to wander, time to play, time to think. It's extremely important. What I'm trying to say is, why on earth would you let time, these man-made distinctions and categories, these imaginary boundaries, dictate when you do that? why would you let these things, time, which as we just discussed is not real, why would you let that, the calendar, the clock, tell you when you get to enjoy your life versus when you get to play, when you get to experience flow? I want to experience flow every single day of my life for the rest of my life. And I believe you should too. Because it is through pursuing these flow states, through pursuing and honoring your gift, that you can then serve others, give your gift to the world, which I think is your highest calling. I believe it's all of our highest calling. Service to others through the expression of your own unique gift. That is purpose. If you've ever felt lost, replay what I just said and go pursue that. So perhaps it's a better strategy to choose to live life on your own terms, rather than operating within the unquestionable and imaginary boundaries that have been assigned to you. So instead of trading 5 days of work, sluggishly carrying out tasks that you hate or find meaningless, in trading for 2 days of rest in return, which if we're being honest, tends to be mindless consumption, cheap entertainment, and satisfying your base impulses, why don't you define a life's purpose, a mission, a definite chief aim? The kind of goal, project, target that makes you eager to get out of bed in the morning. The kind of goal which, when you're engaging with the tasks required, it makes you literally forget to eat meals. It makes you stay up late into the night doing the work that is required, because you forget that time is even a real thing. The kind of work that actually makes you feel joy when you're engaging with it. Why don't you want to spend more of the time in your life, which you have a very limited time of, doing those things that you enjoy, those things that you love, that are rewarding to you, trying to express your own gift to serve humanity? If you don't feel that way about your work, if you don't feel that kind of fire inside your belly, that kind of flow state whenever you're engaging with it, you're going to get lapped and outworked by people who do feel that way about their work. So to close off this video, I want to again acknowledge that this isn't easy. What I'm saying is by no means is easy. Being able to get to the point where you make a living out of pursuing your passion might take a long time. And I want to acknowledge that I've been incredibly blessed and gifted in order to find this path that feels so meaningful for myself at a young age. Because it might take more trial and error. It might take more failure. It might take more time doing other work that you don't particularly enjoy in order to put food on the table while trying the stuff that actually does bring you passion. And throughout this video, if you haven't clicked off yet, a part of you might have had these sort of limiting beliefs, which said, well, it's not that simple, X, Y, Z, it's different for me because of X or Y, I need to make money, making money is hard, I live in this country, I live in that country, blah, 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 so on, so on, so on. And to that, I would just respond, you're right. Maybe it is different for you. Maybe it is extremely difficult for you. But what other choice do you have? Do you want to trade 5 days of your life for 2 in return? Do you want your life to pass you by and you spent 70% of your life doing work that felt meaningless, that didn't bring you joy and flow, for then 2 days in return where in the back of your mind you're kind of depressed and anxious because you're going to have to go back to that thing on Monday morning? Start chipping away at it. Start building things. Start learning new things every day. Learn new skills. Fail. Start projects. Start a business. Get rejected. What other choice do you have? You're gonna die. And so am I. And so is everyone in your life. Everyone's gonna move on within a couple of weeks. Life is incredibly short. All of these things are transient. There's going to be times in your life where you're going to have a lot of money. There's going to be times in your life where you have very little money. And if you're smart enough and made it to the end of this video, you know that money, power, and social status, those aren't the key to happiness, right? You're not that stupid. I mean, look at all the stars and icons and musicians and actors that end up killing themselves. Politicians that end up doing some horrible, shady things. All these people that have the trifecta of what is supposed to bring happiness, or what the media tells us that happiness is. But that's not true. Like, come on. You know better than that. Flow. A feeling of mastery. That's what's going to bring you the most joy in your life. Your work, if you're anything like me, your work is where you're going to find the most meaning and joy in your life. So make it something that you love. Consciously select the work that you're going to be taking on. Don't let others simply assign work to you. And that is why you should want to work 7 days of the week. I hope this video serves you. And I'll see you next week. Peace.